Hello, 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 and welcome. Welcome to the Success Series. I'm Suzana Mihajlovic, and I am super excited about introducing our guest today. I've known James Rankin for probably about a year now, and I tell you right now, nothing short of impressive. This young man will inspire you. He will kick your butt. He will make you think bigger. Just an incredible person all round. Born entrepreneur. We were just talking in the back room. He started entrepreneurship really at the age of 12 and doing some incredible things in property, in business, and just a huge visionary. So just a little bit about James Rankin. He is the co-founder of Everest, the largest buyer's agent coaching program in Australia. He is he's one of the head coaches at the Buyer's Agent Institute. He has a deep understanding of the Australian property market, a passion that begun at just the age of 12 when the farmland around his family home was sold for development. Demonstrating his entrepreneurial spirit, he convinced a developer to pay him for mowing nature strips on the 90 blocks for sale. He even assisted in selling a block to a buyer when the agents were unavailable, sparking his interest in property. And my God, he's done some crazy things since then. Just amazing, so inspiring. After James finished school, he was advised to gain life experience before entering real estate. And that prompted him to start various businesses, including a car detailing and e-commerce business. And he also set up a manufacturing plant in China. Returning to property in his mid-20s, he gained substantial experience in design, construction, and development. He participated in over 1,200 property transactions. That's huge, absolutely huge. And this journey led him to establish a successful buyer's agency focused on development investor clients initially, but has since moved to becoming a boutique agency for owner-occupiers around Melbourne's exclusive Inner East. Please welcome the incredible James Rankin. Hello,
Thanks,
James.
Susanna.
Hello. Welcome. It's so good to have you.
Thank you. I've never had my bio so perfectly read out like that. So thank you so much. I was like sitting here going, oh my God, thank you.
Well, like I said to you earlier, James, it's absolutely impressive. I love being around people like yourself who have that entrepreneurial spirit, who are big thinkers, who stretch, who, don't have any limits in their mindset and what they're doing. So thank you so much for being with us today. I know how busy you are and, you're juggling a lot of different responsibilities. So just to have you with us today is an absolute honor. But before we begin, tell us a little bit more about yourself. I was fascinated when I read that, what you had done, like at the age of 12. Tell us more.
Yeah, it was, I don't know. Like I just had an absolute obsession about property. Like that probably it's definitely led to where I am today. But I think just having those little opportunities and the farmland around my parents' house getting cut up. Like there was market gardens around us when I was, really young. We moved there and it was maybe like 6 houses on the street. And then they just started chopping it up and we ended up having the sales office on our block of land because, mum and dad were always there and, they just wanted a safe spot to have it. And then again, like trying to remember back how I asked them to, mow the lawns because I was always on dad's like ride-on lawnmower. But I drew up a little thing on whatever it was. It would have been a Word computer file back in the day and had James's mowing. So rather than like Jim's mowing, I did this little thing called James's mowing.
How clever.
And then I just used to mow the nature strips because back then they put in all the roads before they'd sold it, a bit different to how it is now. So the roads were all there, but the grass was getting pretty high. So I just used to mow the nature strips for them. And then, a lady came to the board because there was a big sales board out the front. And she was like, is there anyone here? Like, because the sales office was on our land. And I was like, oh, no one's here today, but I know that block. So just follow me on my push bike. So I just rode up to that block and I said, here's the block of land. And anyway, I probably chatted to her because I'd talked to anyone back then. And then I don't know, a couple of days later, the agents came around and that was LJ Hooker that was selling the blocks. And they had a little badge for me that said my name on it, LJ Hooker, like badge. And they gave me like a whole bunch of price lists and the plan of subdivisions, which with all the blocks on it. And they were like, yeah, that lady bought the block of land. So yeah, I mean, that's where it started. And I just have been obsessed about property ever since. Got mum to bring home magazines from like her work. And I'd just sit there and read, it was the weekly review back then from Stonington, just read the weekly review on properties that were for sale. Like, I know it's the weirdest thing that a kid would go and do, but that was me back then.
Wow. It just really shows, just that vision and passion and connecting to spirit, connecting to your heart and really following it. You said, it's a weird thing that, a young kid would do, but it's really just like when you are genuine and when you follow that instinct and your love, it's amazing what opens up. But you also said twice, James, that it was an obsession. And, when you talk about we hear great leaders speak or highly successful people, it is that healthy obsession that really gets them there. So, yeah, would you agree? And what has your experience been with that?
Yeah, 100%. Like I have seen, I've read it in books too, where you will see like just that hunger, that obsession, healthy obsession, as you said, around like just wanting to do the thing, like I can even just remember like getting exposure to development sites. Like this is probably a little bit later on, but just walking the streets of where I wanted to do my own developments. Like we do our own now, but just that thought of this could be the block, that could be the block, and like imagining the thing. I think that's like, I'm quite a visual person. And then I just lock in on it, right? Like it's in the crosshairs and I know I'm going to do it. It's just, the time that I'm going to put into it. But I don't know, like it's very hard to explain to someone what that obsession is. You know what I mean? Like you can't train it. It's just kind of, I lean into it, right? Like I've just leaned into it over the years. So I guess that's just what has been, the reason why I followed that path.
Yes, I love that. Well, you mentioned the higher faculty of the mind, which is imagination. So Einstein, the great Einstein, said that he got to the solution to the equation of, relativity through his imagination and his intuition. And he said his intellect was actually the servant. We all admire him because of his intellect, but, the imagination, you said you lock it in your vision, you're very visual, and then it's going to happen. So you just, I guess, persist and keep going until it's done.
Yeah, almost have to be careful on what I think about because I know, like, if I do lock into it, then it's going to happen.
Yeah. It reminds me of something, and also my own journey. It was, but something that I, learned from my mentor, Bob Proctor, the decision. Nothing happens until the decision is made. So you can have a healthy obsession, but if you haven't decided that it is done, then, it's not going to happen. So kind of, when you say, you lock it in, you've got to be careful what you imagine, because once it's locked in, it is done. It sounds like it's the decision that you make. And once the decision is there, you do it, right?
Yeah. And one of the biggest things, because I don't know, the visualization piece, because I am so visual, like I can literally just play things in my head like a movie. That can sometimes be like, before I sort of perfected it, can be enough of a dopamine hit to go, cool, that's what it looks like, that's the goal, I've achieved it in my head, because it's so clear. But an addition to that for me, like, has really wrapping it around like, well, how am I going to get there? And then also, what does it mean if I don't get it? You know what I mean? Like, what does my life look like? It's almost like this picturesque thing, and then it's
Yes.
like disaster if it
Yes.
doesn't happen.
Yeah.
That has been the real thing that drives me to achieve that.
Right. So it's the fear of not having it, the fear of failure that drives you. It's an actual kind of, I'm just like imagining it. It's like it adds to the ammunition, you know, it adds to you actually, you know, keep going and persist in it. Yeah.
Oh, it puts the fuel. It's the fuel on the fire for sure. Because again,
Yeah.
like you can sit in that visualization of, oh, everything's pretty and look how good my life's going to be and blah, 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 like whatever it is. But then
Yeah.
as soon as you take that away, it's like, that's really what pushes you forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's what then determines the daily actions, you know. So a lot of people misunderstand success, and there's this whole new thing of the law of attraction and manifestation, and they think they can just imagine it, but without locking it in, without making the decision, and without physically starting to take action towards it, it's very unlikely that it's going to happen. So yeah
100%.
yeah. Wow. So, you know, James, it seems like the world has opened up to business and entrepreneurship. However, so there's more and more business, you know, with the online space, more and more people are doing either a side gig or, you know, wanting to develop multiple sources of income, or some people are leaving their job to start a business. But it's very hard for a lot of people to succeed. What have your seen? So you've shared some of them. You've had a whole life since you were 12 in business and owning your own businesses and multiple companies and being successful in multiple businesses. What would your advice be? What would your advice be to anyone that's starting out?
Yeah, again, if you've got that desire to run your own business, I mean, I'd learned early on as well. I don't know why I would have read or come across these things, but I always knew, and it's probably more referring to the US, right? Because the US definitely fosters that entrepreneurial aspect of life. I think a bit better than Australia.
Yes.
And I don't know where I'd come across it, but again, most people that had become a millionaire or had become successful in business had been bankrupt 3 times. There was like some story around that, but that just meant that they'd had a go. Like they'd obviously had failure. So I always knew, like early on, like quite young, that sometimes it leads to failure, but I wasn't scared to just like take that leap and say, you know, I'll give it a go. Because it was obviously, I'll tell you all the good ones, but there was a ton of bad ones too. Like the e-commerce stuff was really hard to crack. Like I'd bought all this stuff on my dad's credit card. It didn't come to Australia, and I had this debt on my dad's credit card for like a year that I was paying off. So yeah, there's a ton of stuff that didn't work, but I was again, like I took the risk of taking my dad's credit card to pay for the thing. So I did take those, had a swing, you know what I mean? Like you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Like I'm a big believer of that. And when I was younger, like I had that fire in the belly. I was a risk taker, 100%. I would just have a go at things. And that's all I can really say to people is have a go. Like if you feel that you want to go and do these things, just do it. You know what I mean? Like obviously if you're a little bit later in life, like I was young, so I probably didn't have, commitments. I didn't have a mortgage. I didn't have family and all of that kind of stuff. So you might have to take a bit more of a structured approach, but get yourself in a position that allows you to do that. You know what I mean? Like get 6 months worth of savings, get some annual leave behind you, whatever it is that you want or that you need to feel secure. Like I'm definitely different now in terms of the risk that I would take. I was like, I would assess it much differently than what it would have been 15 years ago.
Yes.
But yeah, it's that understanding that it could fail. So, and being okay with that, I think up front, I got taught by an accountant friend of mine that was probably more of a mentor at that stage, but there's you got to think of the exit. You got to think of the divorce. Like what's the bad scenario in everything? You know what I mean? Like what if you go down this road and it doesn't work out? Like what are you going to do? Are you still going to be able to eat? I think I would always at least evaluate that. Like how bad is life going to be if this thing doesn't work out? And as soon as I get comfort in that, then I'm okay to try it. You know what I mean? That's probably the way or the solution that I would say to people, or the pathway to take to like build out that confidence and say, if this thing did go belly up, are you going to be able to eat tomorrow? If so, give it a go. Like give it a crack. Like give it a red hot go. And the other thing that I learnt was that it's way harder than I ever thought it was going to be. You know what I mean? Like I'm quite good on the calculator and the entrepreneurial maths. If I sell X amount of these things, I'm going to be a multimillionaire in a month. It's good, like have an understanding and like a market assessment, but the achieving that goal is way harder than I ever thought, like way harder.
Yeah. And would you say though that I agree, like being an entrepreneur is way harder than probably anything that I've done in my life. However, I would not have it any other way. And that challenge and overcoming those big challenges and just stretching and growing yourself to overcome, to allow yourself to fail. Before I became an entrepreneur, I felt ashamed if I failed or made mistakes, you know. But if you're going to go into business, you're going to fail. So, you know, I've learned to celebrate failure, and it's definitely the hardest thing that I've ever done, but I would not have it any other way, because when you face those challenges and those risks and those dangers, and when you stretch yourself, you discover a part of you that you didn't even know was there. That's my experience. It's an experience also, like, you know, your pet or your baby, just seeing it grow, seeing it develop, you know. There's also the equal amount of beauty in it. Is that your experience, or how have you found the challenges and it being difficult?
Again, without sounding like cliche, but there's always a lesson to be learned. You know what I mean? Like in that failure, or you know, we fail every day. You know what I mean? Like we still run business now. I'm still running businesses at this point. Stuff happens all the time. Before I jumped on this call, I was running through marketing sequences, and I'm like, that's wrong. That's wrong. What? Like, we need to make sure that, you know, these things are looked at and blah, 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 blah. And that's probably been out in our database for like the last 3 months. So there's a part of that which I get frustrated at, but I also try to look at the learning. So beyond that, how do we make sure that that doesn't happen again? Or how do we, if the business totally went belly up like previously, how do I make sure that that doesn't happen again? I just look at that as my apprenticeship. You know what I mean? Like all those failures and the stuff that I did early on, it was an apprenticeship. You know what I mean? Like that's what led me to have successful businesses later on. You know what I mean? Like my first real business, was the detailing business. Like that was the real business that I started making good money on when I was, you know, I don't know, 18, 19 years old. And then it sort of went on to some other things that was in the automotive industry. One of those businesses is still going today, you know, like a long, long time. I sold out of it, but it's still going today. So yeah, it was a good eye opener.
Yeah. What a great attitude to see it as, you know, what are the learnings? How can you improve? And this is an apprenticeship that I need to get through so that I can have the success that I want. So anybody that is starting a new business or starting anything new, you will have your challenges. You will have your setbacks, you know, but what are you learning from it? And celebrate your failures. You know, you're not a failure unless you quit. Failure is a part of success. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because you could be like, if you failed on the first time around of doing this and you got upset at yourself, you're either naive or arrogant as to thinking that you're going to nail it the first time. You know what I mean? Like, that's probably just my view on it. And as soon as you understand that, and it's part of the process, then you just will be allowed to able to move on to the next part, right? Like, I see it with people who invest in property. They buy a property maybe on their own. They haven't used a professional. It doesn't do well. And they're just like, this thing doesn't work. They sell it and they never do it again. Right. Like, because they don't know it. Like, they actually don't know it. But that can be exactly the same case with business and entrepreneurial aspects in life. It's just part of the process.
Yes, absolutely. It's just a part, and the attitude is what counts. So you said, you're either arrogant, if you have that mindset that, you get upset when there's a failure, and you've got to keep that attitude, a strong attitude as you go, because even with the more experience you get, the next big goal will lead to the next big stretch. So, and in any stretch, there is failure and mistakes. So, yeah, you mentioned, having a buyer's agent just briefly there. Tell us a little bit more about why people should have a buyer's agent. I mean, you're an absolute expert in property. So if there's anybody that somebody should listen to, it would be someone like you, James. You've helped 1,200 people, in the space, in the property industry, or more, I would imagine, because you guys are doing some great stuff with the Buyer's Agent Institute. Why is it important in this day and age for people to have a buyer's agent when they're looking at purchasing property?
How long have we got left? No, I'm only joking. So in terms of what my view is on it, like, honestly, you're never going to change people's minds, right? Like, as in, I can do this thing myself. Totally cool. Like, that is it. But could you do it better? Like, if you wanted to lose weight, for instance, you can go for a run around the block. It's totally free. You can join a gym. It's going to cost you a little bit, or you can go to a PT, right? Like, the PT, they're going to hold you accountable. They're going to do everything that they can to make sure you achieve your goal. It's the most expensive, but you're probably going to get the result in a much shorter time, or actually get the result. So I view the BA industry, buyer's agent industry, similarly, where you can do this by yourself. But is it going to take you longer? Are you going to do it the right way? Are you going to, buy the best property possible versus utilizing a professional that knows everything that's going on in the world of real estate and can make that the best purchase possible? I've never said to anyone that I will save you money, because I think that's the wrong approach. It's like, we will get you the best property possible. So in a rising market, that could be, you just might have to pay 5% over the asking price to get it, but it means that your family is secure for the next 20 years. You can just live there, and it doesn't matter. And honestly, if you bought the right property and you've had professional help buy that particular property, in 20 years' time, the 5% extra that you paid is irrelevant. Doesn't even matter anymore.
Yeah, absolutely.
So in a falling market, it can be, you can actually save people money because they don't know how to assess, how quickly that market's dropping. So if it is a softer market, you can negotiate much, much harder as a buyer's agent. But again, like, I would never put it out there. We're going to do our best to get this property for X. And they, like, a buyer's agent might be able to push a little bit harder on the negotiations. There's no emotion involved, right? Like, I've sat with clients of mine who have said, you just saved me $90,000 because I would have paid that, like a post negotiation after an auction. Yeah, literally sitting there with a client who just said, I would have paid that, but you just saved us $90,000 just like that. So because there's no emotional attachment to it. So that's the, I guess, a brief understanding. But one other thing that I just wanted to highlight, because it's really come about in the last month or so, or probably a little bit longer than that, but I've been researching it a bit more, is a buyer's agent market. And what that means is you've got on market, you've got pre-market, you've got off market, and then you've got the buyer's agent market. And you can imagine real estate agents all around Australia saying, if I could sell this property without doing an open home, that would be the dream, right? And they are now using buyer's agents, like professional to professional, to just sell a property. So I've got this property, 14 Smith Street. Hey, Suzana, $550,000 we want to sell it for. Do you have a client for it? Yeah, I do actually. You go and do your assessment. You go back to the agent. Yep, we'll take it. It's done. Like literally, that's what's happening around Australia now. And that will start to open up and become more apparent. 1 in 5 properties in Australia are sold that way, like off market, which means you don't even know what's being sold. So 1 in 5, 20% of properties are being sold.
That's huge.
Without a listing. Yeah. It's huge. So that number will increase over time.
And that's really good information to get out there to people that are wanting to purchase. It's something that I didn't know, so thank you so much for that. So guys, if you are looking at purchasing a property, do find yourself a great buyer's agent. I do work with the Buyer's Agent Institute. I'm very, very fortunate. I do their Monday Mindset Clinic calls, and I'm telling you now, the Buyer's Agent Institute is professional in capital letters. They're just an incredible organisation. And what I also love about the Buyer's Agent, it's led by an incredible team, yourself and Ben Handler, who have had the experience in business, who have had the experience in real estate, but also you understand multiple sources of income because you've got multiple sources of income. And we know the way to true wealth and to limiting your risk in terms of your spread of wealth is to have multiple sources of income. And this is what I love about the Buyer's Agent Institute, because it gives people an opportunity to develop a skill to become a buyer's agent, whether they've been in the property market or not, and have an additional income themselves. So, James, tell us a little bit more about what you guys do at the Buyer's Agent Institute, just in case there is anybody that's listening that is looking for an additional source of income and they're not sure, which way to go.
Yeah. So I was actually a student, believe it or not, right in the first cohort. I was in real estate. Yeah. But yeah, I was in real estate, and then I just came across this guy with long hair on an ad or something like that, and just was
doesn't wear shoes.
Doesn't wear shoes. And I was like, who the heck is this guy? I was probably on a podcast, actually. I used to listen to tons of podcasts. And yeah, I just made an inquiry, and so I knew what the buyer's agent space was. And for me, it was, I wanted revenue. Like I just wanted a cash flow business that allowed me to go buy more property, like buy development sites, buy property. That was the goal, right? And creating that extra income source. So yeah, found out about it, jumped in, and then, I'm here today. This is like 6.5 years ago. So still in the space and still run a buyer's agency business. I have very little to do with it. It is, it's self-run. There's a person there that looks after it all. And I get a portion of that income. So that's where it's led me sort of after 6 years. I still get paid regularly by that business. But the main attraction of why people get involved, I think it's like there's a passion for property. So they've always wanted to do it. Didn't want to be a sales agent, much like me. I didn't want to go and do open homes and all that kind of stuff. So it fitted the need there on I can now work in the industry and be, doing the thing that I want to do, like buying or being involved rather in the business, but not having to sell houses and helping people, right? Like helping people achieve their goals. So like from the investment side, but also their family owner occupier homes. That was like a big thing for me. First home buyers, like honestly back then, and still today, like it's probably flicked around to really, really focusing on first home buyers because I have a real passion for people getting into the property market. Like it's done well for me. It's done well for a lot of people I know, and just giving that insight that they can, achieve really good things by being property owners. But just going back to reasons why people jump into BAI, like Buyers Agent Institute, or want to join us, it's quitting the 9 to 5 as well. Like, I am a self-professed resignation letter collector. Like, I just got one before the call. Like, one of the guys just put into the chat, I just sent my resignation letter on and I'm doing this thing. Like, I'm going full at it. And that for me is like the biggest joy. Like, I get so pumped about that, because I know that that person has taken that leap of faith. Like, they've committed, they've backed themselves, and they're going after their dream. So yeah,
Yes.
that's what I see. Like, a lot of people, and I'm sure you see them as well, like on your clinics, which is definitely the crowd favorite clinic to attend. But yeah, it's just that the life-changing aspect is so true.
Absolutely. And what I love about it, like, leading that clinic, James, is this group of people. So we have about, 50 to 60 people attend the clinic at any one time, but they are so eager to learn. They really want to understand, to learn, to expand themselves, to change. And you have a whole community of people working together, sharing information. There are accountability partners. It's almost like a mastermind, lifting you up to your success as a buyer's agent. It really is an incredible, community to be involved with. So yeah, and hearing all the success stories is always just amazing. So yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I've never seen a community like that before, where you're working in the same industry, but everyone's so forthcoming and like helping everyone else. There's a lot of career change people as well. Like, they've been in a toxic environment and they're just like, I need to get out of this. And this is almost like a bit of a safe space for them. So everyone, like, lots and lots of people just want everyone to succeed.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. So what is your definition of success?
I think it was Clint Eastwood had the definition, like his definition I probably share, which is a man, like, sorry to be taking his words exactly as they are, a man who wakes up and decides what he wants to do every single day. That's like success, you know what I mean? Because they've got the choice. So for me, it's always just being like the choice of like what I want to do today. Yes, we run businesses and you have to jump in and do some of that stuff today. But if I want to block out in my diary that I'm going to go to the gym at 12 o'clock today because I can, or I'm going to go for a walk after this because it's a gorgeous day outside in Melbourne, I can. Like, that to me is, I've still got fire and a hunger in my belly, like a fire in my belly to do more in this world. So I enjoy work. Like, I'm not going to say that it's a bad thing. Like, if I'm working at 10 o'clock at night because I have to, that's different. But because I want to, is like, it doesn't matter to me because I enjoy it. Like, I actually get joy out of what I'm doing. So I don't mind it. But I know what switch, I know when I'm like, I need that break. I need that separation, was the word that I was looking for. I'm quite good at understanding that. So if I say, no, I'm done today, like, I can't do this anymore, I'll just go elsewhere. You know what I mean? Or I'll change location. I'll pick up my laptop and I'll go to a little cafe down the road. That's like a quick way for me to flick out of a funk. But yeah, the success part is really, really hard to define. But to me, it's just like the ability to do what you want to do every day.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that definition because it is, and it gives you that sense of freedom. But also, what you said is the passion and the love. It's not work like when you're in a job and you have to do it. It's actually a form of creation. It's coming from within. You are fulfilling, the passion, the fire within. So, yeah, absolutely love your definition. Thank you. And 3 top habits.
Oof. 3 top habits. I mean, I'm like a big note taker in terms of like what I do. I always have my iPad next to me. That was just pen and paper. Like, I've been a pen and paper person for a long time. I try to just go off those lists and tackle like if I can get 5 major items ticked off every single day, and that's not always work stuff. It could be 3 work, or it could be 3 health and family things. Like it might be reading 10 pages of a book. Like if there's a habit that I'm just trying to get back into, that's something that I do every single day. Like I really, really try to get into it. But I'm a big believer in like that habit stacking and atomic habits. So linking it all together. But
Yes.
yeah, I mean, that's probably like my 3 would sort of be combined into that like general practice.
Yes.
Exercise is always a big key. I walk a lot, so I'll always have my phone attached. My headphones are down on the ground there. But as soon as someone calls me, I'll plug in my headphones and I'll go for a walk, especially if I know it's a little bit of a longer one.
Yes.
That is just walk and talk is like my thing. People
Yeah.
know me by that now, where they'll be like, "Are you going for a walk?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm on a walk." Because why not just get some extra steps in while you're on a conversation?
Absolutely.
So yeah, they're probably the main ones.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. So 5 things that you set yourself to achieve every day. A combination of 3 work things, and you combine other areas in your life there. Habit stacking and walking and talking. That's absolutely brilliant. I do the 5 things every day too, but I do 5 goal achieving activities. So I make sure I have my exercise in the morning and all of that stuff. But I make sure my 5 activities for the day are goal achieving activities. And sometimes you don't get through all 5. It's not about necessarily getting through all 5. It's about doing each one well and completing one at a time in a sense of urgency, but also developing that habit, developing the mindset that, you're ticking things off and you're getting things done. So yeah, fantastic. James, my gosh, what a great conversation. I want to continue this conversation. You're absolutely incredible. Honestly, absolutely incredible. So we started with, the passion and the desire at the age of 12, and what a beautiful story, and the passion for property, the imagination, using your imagination, making a decision to get it done. And failing, we spoke about failure being a part of success. One thing that really stands out with you, particularly in this conversation, James, which you didn't mention, is your attitude towards learning. Like, you didn't mention it in those words, but it came through, in almost everything that you said. You're always learning. Your atomic habits you mentioned, mistakes, and it's another way of doing things. Listening to podcasts. So this is so important. And no matter what level of success you have, how much money you have in the bank, how many properties you have in your portfolio, you constantly want to be learning and stretching and growing and developing. So that was another thing that came through in this conversation. Yes. So
Yeah, definitely something I love. Like, there's books behind me. Some of you can't see, but there's always like a stack of books next to
wow.
That's
like me too. Yeah, everywhere. Yeah.
Constant learner. Like I'm definitely a big believer of that. Like if I haven't done something, I know nothing about it, and I will not perceive like that I do. Maybe when I was younger, I definitely had a bit more of an ego. But if I don't know something, the best approach is the answer to everything is in someone else's head. You just need to ask the questions.
Yes, absolutely. The answer to everything is in someone else's head. You just need to ask the right questions. Amazing. James, any last words that you would like to share with this incredible community?
It's just, I mean, if there's something you want to tackle, and it is that burning desire, like you really want to do it, just back yourself and go for it.
Thank you so much. So if there's that burning desire, back yourself and go for it. James Rankin, thank you so much for your time. You will send me the link where people can find you. So guys, whoever's listening to this, please check James Rankin out. Check the Buyer's Agent Institute out. The link will either be in the comments below or in the email that this recording has been sent to you. Thank you again so much for your time, James. What a wealth of gold just in this conversation. So many gems and so many so much wisdom just in this one conversation. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me on.
Thank you. Okay. Bye.
See ya.